Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Kansas City Profiles, presented by Easton Roofing on the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. And today we will not do anything particularly irreverent. We'll do something very important and talk to John Teegarde from Midwest Adaptive Sports, an avid athlete through the age of 40. He was paralyzed after surgery for a heart disorder and now is heavily involved in adaptive sports, including wheelchair softball, which is a passion of his. He was an avid softball player up to the age of 40 and his paralysis, and had to scratch that itch and seek out the world of wheelchair softball, and expanded the capabilities of the Kansas City area's wheelchair softball programs. And now Kansas City, for the second time recently, is the home of the national championships as far as wheelchair softball is concerned. John's heavily involved with Midwest Adaptive Sports, which, as it says, is adapting sports for people with handicaps. He grew up in this area, and his story is a fascinating one of adjustment and intense involvement in what has become a great passion for him. It's a great story to tell, and happy to tell it today on Kansas City Profiles, presented by Easton Roofing, with John Teegarde from Midwest Adaptive Sports. We're here with Joe Spiker, the president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you worked for other companies in the construction industry. What inspired you to start your own company in Easton Roofing?
Well, you know, Danny, when you are working for somebody else, you oftentimes don't get to see the project through from beginning to end, and you don't get the final control over the customer experience. And I wanted to build a place where people can come and get work done on their house and not have to worry about being treated the wrong way, and get a good customer service experience start to finish.
The company slogan is "Where Integrity Matters." Why is that so particularly important to you?
Well, for us, what that means is treating each other with respect at work, treating our clients with respect, and making the right choice, especially when no one's looking. So when you're presented all the time as a contractor with choices that have to be made, are you going to make more money on this if you cut a corner? And we just wanted to make a place and a slogan that said to our people and to whoever is our customer, we're not going to do that. We're going to make the right choice, regardless of profit.
Easton Roofing, where integrity matters.
For many people, a family law case will be one of the most difficult experiences in their life. The law firm of Kenneth McRae will help you through it. Personal and effective help from Ken, in concert with you, will develop a unique strategy for your unique case. As Ken always says, divorce can be civil law, not civil war. Licensed in Kansas? Visit McRaeLawOffice.com or call 913-972-4765.
Sumner One is the company to make your office maximize efficiency. Their family of companies make up one of the largest independent dealers of office technology in the Midwest. They are proud to bring the best service and technology to top companies across the region. Sumner One can help your organization run more smoothly than ever. Sumner One printers, copiers, MFPs, managed print services, document management, infrastructure design, IT services, disaster recovery, and business continuity. Welcome to the one place where everything works. For more information, call Carl Little at 913-752-2256. Welcome back to Kansas City Profiles here on the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. For today, our guest is John Teegarde from Midwest Adaptive Sports, a nonprofit organization of all volunteers that uses adaptive sports to create great interest and a great outlet for people who have physical disabilities. And the national championships of wheelchair softball will be coming up at T-Bone Stadium in the middle of August 15th through 17th. Kansas City represented among the 18 teams, including one from Japan that comes over on an annual basis to participate. John, we appreciate you taking the time, and let's start off with your childhood. You grew up here in the Kansas City area and lived in Lenexa and Overland Park and some other spots as well. Tell us a little bit about your childhood. And you sound like you were a very active guy as a youth.
Yeah, well, thanks, Danny. Thanks for having me on the show here. I grew up in Overland Park, and then moved to Lenexa. Went to Shawnee Mission Northwest, and played sports my whole life. Just grew up playing baseball, football, basketball. That didn't change as I got older. Any sport somebody wanted me to come play, I'd go out and play. Just loved competing.
Now, you went to Kansas, the University of Kansas, for a year after you went through high school, and but then saw the opportunity to use the military to fund your education, and went into the military for 3 years. I think you called it the paper program during the Reagan administration. And just talk about that decision. I know maybe it was a difficult one, and there was some trepidation within your family unit about that.
Yeah. Well, I wanted, as a kid, you try and figure out what you want to do. I went to KU for a year, still hadn't figured it out. Saw the military program where they pay for your college. I thought that'd be a good idea. Give me some time to kind of figure out what I want to do. Make a little money while doing it. My father wasn't real happy with it, but he and I actually sat down and talked about it. I explained to him exactly why I'm doing it, and I convinced him it was a good idea.
And it ended up being a good idea for you. You found your calling, went to DeVry, and became a computer programmer, correct?
Yes. Yep. I did computer programming for about 15 years until my injury.
And during the early years at KU, and then upon your return, you also met your bride and started a family. Talk a little bit about Sandy.
I did, yeah. Sandy and I met while we were at KU. And I went into the military, and we kind of lost contact. And then we met in a movie theater. We were watching the same movie, started dating. And
so you went to the movie separately?
Yeah, we went to the movie separately. She came up to me and, said hi to me and everything. And
do you remember the movie?
I do not. She'll kill me. I probably would have, but, I was so enthralled in seeing her again.
There you go.
Yes.
That was more important than the film.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can check on that later and find out what the film was.
Right.
You have a couple of boys, one of them autistic. Talk about that. You would eventually have your own challenges, but raising an autistic child has its own challenges as well that maybe helped you prepare for that.
Yeah. My oldest son's Nathan. My youngest son's TJ, and TJ's autistic. So Sandy and I learned a lot, raising him, learned a lot of patience raising him. He's turned out to be an excellent young adult. Just he and I help each other all the time. I help him with things. He helps me with things. We actually work out together. He's my workout buddy now. He does powerlifting now for Special Olympics. So he's done really, really well.
That is a cool story. That's extremely cool. So you're living a fairly normal American life, 2 children, computer programmer, sort of just regular stuff. The challenges of raising an autistic child, but that has turned out to be obviously a great success story also. And then what happened at age 40?
Age 40, I went in I had the flu. I went in, they did some x-rays, they saw a narrowing of my aorta. They said I need to get that fixed. I need to go in for surgery. Of course, they told me this in the spring. I asked if it could wait till fall because I'm competitive and it was softball season.
Right.
So they said, yeah, we put it off till fall. So they did. And after the surgery, I came to and no feeling, no movement from the waist down. Originally, they thought it was just the meds that were causing this. A couple days later, they sent me into to do an MRI and found out that there was some swelling in my spinal column. And I obviously thought, well, it's swelling. Swelling goes down, it'll be fine. It's been 15 years. I've got movement. I got feeling back. I'm still using a wheelchair to get around. I walk with canes in my house over short distances. But yeah.
So did you ever get any kind of reasonable or understandable explanation for what occurred?
What they had told me was that since I was under so long, because there were some complications, that the spinal column just kind of swelled. during the surgery because of the lack of blood flow and oxygen to it. It just swelled.
And you somewhat pursued perhaps some legal action, but there was just no real way for you to get real compensation for what you went through?
Yeah. I looked into it, and there was really talked to 4 different lawyers, and there's no compensation for me.
What was it's just a jarring, unbelievably jarring thing it must be for especially a person that's so active that he put off important surgery to play softball. How quickly, or was there a long process of why me, that type of thing?
I was always under the feeling that this was going to go away.
Right.
That, I'm going to be fine. This is just a bump in the road. Turned out that road was actually turning me to a different direction.
Now, that different direction obviously started out with the enthusiasm for softball, and, that's something that doesn't go away, particularly, as I said, for a man who was going to willing to put off surgery. But when you first looked into wheelchair softball, it wasn't like there was a large group of people around Kansas City who were doing it.
No, there weren't. When I first looked into it, I didn't even know it existed. I just did a Google search, just kind of as a goof, and found the National Wheelchair Softball Association. Went on their website, found that there was a team in Kansas City, and I called up Bobby Baker, who was the coach at the time, and he said, we're practicing out at Swope Park, so come on out. And I went out there, and there's a handful of guys out in the chairs. The first thing he did was hand me a bat and say, go ahead and hit. And I'm thinking, fairly newly injured, I'm thinking, okay, I'm playing against a bunch of guys in wheelchairs. This should not be too difficult. Got a couple good hits in, and then he said, okay, the next hit, run. And I did. I hit one in the left center gap, and I was thinking that's at least a double, triple. About 5 feet before first base, I heard the first baseman's mitt pop. The guy in left field throw me out from left field.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, while these are obviously some accomplished wheelchair softball players, when you were first starting out, there weren't even maybe enough sometimes to field a full team, correct?
No, there weren't. Yeah, we struggled with that. Sometimes we'd have 3 guys at practice, and that got pretty frustrating. And then we kind of quit for about a year or so. I started getting another call back from Ray Petty, who took over the program. He's up in Lawrence. And he said, come on out. And he said, we have a bunch of guys showing up. And we were practicing up in Emporia, and we had more than enough guys. And it was at that point I decided that I'm not going to let this happen again. I'm going to help them build this program. 8 years ago, they built a field up in Topeka, and that's our home field. Mm-hmm. And that's helped us kind of keep our team going. But we have ups and downs as far as recruiting players and keeping players.
This obviously has taken a tremendous commitment because, at one point you're going to Emporia.
Right.
And it's still going to Topeka, which isn't a long drive, but it's not nothing.
Right.
So this obviously is something that you really had a strong commitment to.
Yes.
And what position did you play when you were a non-adaptive athlete, and
right.
What do you do now?
I pitched when I was playing stand-up ball. I pitch now. I do play some outfield as well. So it just kind of depends on other players.
Right.
Is where I play, but primarily I pitch.
And just describe for people, it sounds like you just play regular softball with all the regular rules and everything else, and just people are in wheelchairs. Is there any other differences in the game as opposed to what you would call a stand-up softball?
Yeah. Well, we play with a 16-inch, what they call Chicago ball. Normally the only person who has